Has ever you thought that life is about more than what you're living now? Have you ever wished you had the power to make your dreams come true? This is more than just a book. It's a key to a whole new world of opportunities and finds. Before we get into Wattles's lessons in more detail, I want you to close your eyes and picture the perfect life you want to live. Figure out where you are, what you're doing, how you feel, and how you see yourself precisely. This picture in your mind, which seems so real and vivid, is not just a dream. It's a real place that you can visit. Wallace D. Wattles shows us that we all have a huge amount of power inside us that can change our lives and take us to higher levels we never thought possible. The idea that our thoughts are the seeds of our world is at the heart of this book. That which we think and believe has the power to change our lives and our future. Wattles takes us on a trip to learn more about ourselves and teaches us how to use our minds to bring about health, wealth, happiness, and success. You will learn in this audiobook that the powerful life you want is not just a dream, but a real option. We are challenged by Wattles to look past what we see and realize that all the things we need are already inside us, just waiting to be used. He tells us to stop putting limits on ourselves and trust the power of creative thinking. Let me tell you a basic truth that will change the way you see things. The world is an endless field of possibilities, and your thoughts can change it. You do have that power. It is not something only a few people have. It is your inheritance. With an open mind and a willing heart, I ask you to start this journey. Listen to each chapter and let the words strike a chord with you. This will bring out your inner power. Now is not only a time to learn, but also to change. Get ready to face your false beliefs, find new truths, and begin living the life you've always dreamed of. Remember that every step you take toward change starts with a thought. Today, your first thought should be that you are ready to change your life and your way of thinking. Title 1: The Strong Life. Where does the power come from? There is a great and powerful life here that anyone can live. This is something we have to agree on. Once we agree with this, we can't help but want to live this life, because a good life means health, wealth, power, happiness, and all luck in the world. It will be easier for people to live it after reading these lessons. But first, they need to know what power is and where it comes from. We are now in the mental and spiritual stage of growth, moving on from the animal or material stage. People are changing from physical men and women to men and women of the mind and spirit. The process of making this change can be very hard at times. Still, most people don't do it at all. In what they believe and think, they are still completely material. They can't see the spirit world. They trust things like houses, land, money, and so on. And because they do, these things control them. They can only think of a life that is strong in terms of its physical strength. When Jesus talked to Nicodemus, he was talking about people with new ideas, whose spiritual eyes are opening, and who start to see the inner and finer world through the false appearances of the world of matter. These are the people who start to see spirit as the cause of matter and what are called natural phenomena. They become spiritually born and start to see God's kingdom. They catch glimpses of a strong life that can be lived in the real world. They sometimes enter into it and live it for a while, but they have a hard time because they don't know what the power is or how to live the life. This is what we are going to find out. To start, you need to understand the big truth about the world, which is that everything is one. Everything is a form of the same thing. There is intelligence and consciousness in that material. It's spirit. This original substance has been called many things in my books and articles, such as the Supreme, the Thinking God, the All-Mind, and so on. But here I will just use the word spirit. Spirit is matter. Everything is spirit. Spirit is the only thing there is. You will need to learn to doubt a lot of what your senses tell you before you can fully believe in this great truth. It is simple to do this once you know how unreliable your senses are. The physical man gets everything from his senses. He thinks that seeing is believing, so he takes what he sees as real. But he is really very seriously mistaken. It's not real for him where he lives. Everything in his world is a lie, and not at all what it seems to be. It looks like this man thinks he lives in a flat world under a full blue dome. The moon and sun move above him, but his earth doesn't move, and the stars are just tiny points of light. These are the pictures of the actual world that our senses give us, but no reasonable person today really believes them. We know that the sky is not flat, that the stars are very big, and that the earth goes around the sun. A well-informed person doesn't believe what they see in these things. They only look at reality through the lens of images. Let's look at another case. Color makes everything seem more real, and it's hard to question that things really are the color they seem to be, like how the grass is green and the robin's breast is red. But color only exists in our minds. Things that look like they are a certain color, like red, aren't really that color. When a ray of light hits a red item, it either bounces off of it or doesn't take in the red. The light then goes back to the eye. We only see the color it doesn't like, not the color it is. It is impossible for color to appear where there is no eye to see it. That is why it is not enough to just believe what you see. We need to see the one reality through them all, and that reality is spirit. Stop letting looks fool you and see the truth. This is the first thing that people who want to live a great life must do. Not to believe what seems to be true, but to trust what is true. To get to the bottom of things, they shouldn't try to reason from appearances to realities. Instead, they should believe in realities and ignore appearances. All matter is spirit, and all spirit is matter. Two things can't be the same. As soon as we say that there are two things, spirit and matter, we are completely lost. Matter has its own powers and potentialities if it is separate from spirit. It can affect us for good or bad. So, if we believe this, we will become more and more tied to what we can see and less trusting of the spirit we can't see or only feel. This will make it hard for us to live a powerful life. We need to understand that spirit is the only material. There is only spirit in the world. Then we need to understand that spirit is life and that all life is spirit. Spirit is the only thing that lives. Every thought a person has, every move an animal makes, and every leaf or flower opening up is energy at work in the thing that moves. Grass, flowers and trees are home to spirit. So are bodies and bugs, animals and people. The spirit is the only thing that gives life. He makes everything alive. All of our lives are lived in him. It's not possible for something to have its own life. Everything is spirit life. Once more, all power comes from spirit. Spirit is what makes things move, whether they are in nature or art. Spirit is what makes the leaf flap or the big stream rush through the man-made dynamo. Spirit is working wisely towards some great purpose or purposes of its own. One of many things that show there is wisdom in nature's power is that things stay the same. The rules that govern everything haven't changed since the beginning of time. But what if the water pipes ran gasoline one day and water the next? Or if you weighed 10 pounds one day and half a ton the next? This would be against the laws of chemistry and gravity, so you might think that nature has two forces or that the one force is not smart. If you really want to be as strong as Samson, Napoleon or the preacher, then you need more power. This is what we all want, whether we just want to get rid of something, do well in society, raise our kids well, or help other people. We only need strength and the ability to live a great life. I'll leave you with this fact at the end of the first chapter. If you can fully understand it, it will give you the foundation you need to live your life and if you keep reading, it will definitely help you do that. We live, move, and have our being in the infinite ocean of intelligent spirit. Our life and power come from this ocean, which is full of intelligence. This spirit holds all power, and we can learn to become so one with spirit that we gain more and more power. In fact, we can giving us all the power he can, and only then do we have to prove that we can be trusted. Chapter 2. The Will to be an Entrepreneur. When conditions are the same, results that are the same are caused. Making money is a result, and you can't get around the law of cause and effect. The person who is successful is what makes them successful. He has used something about himself in his work, which has led to a certain outcome. Just what is it about a person that makes them successful? Although being strong can be very helpful, it's not what it takes. That being said, not everyone who is strong is successful, and people who are successful know how to use their physical strength to help them reach their goals. It's not intellectual ability, since not everyone who is smart is successful. People who are able to use their intelligence in a way that helps them succeed. So, the ability to use both mental and physical skills to get things done is what makes a person successful. This kind of power has to come from within the person. It's not a special talent that only a few people have, or a basic skill that everyone can learn. It's a position that needs to be taken. The person must guide his own abilities and energies if they are to be used, and if he does, the power will make things happen. Everyone is aware that they have the power to control their own abilities and energies. People can grow and move forward when they have it. If you want to make someone successful, you need to teach them what makes people successful, and then encourage them to do those things. And the most important thing is that he takes on a self-directed mindset. For every person, the world around them either guides them or guides them independently. Anyone who can does it on their own, anyone who needs to be told what to do, is someone who can't. The person who was led by advice has a horoscope. His fate is set by his genes and his surroundings. The person who is self-directed doesn't let his genes, his surroundings, or even the stars control his thoughts. He believes what he wants to believe, and if his horoscope doesn't fit him, he makes one that does. Business policy determines how well a business does. Because business policy can only be made by thinking, how successful or unsuccessful someone is rests on how well they think. The guided person can only think the thoughts that are given to them by their surroundings. This means that they can only do what the people around them think they can do. A self-directed person can do and think what they want because they are in charge of their own thoughts. Self-direction is the first thing that you need to do to become the kind of person who can. Pay attention to and think about every idea that comes your way, but don't follow through with it. Based on what you think about the idea, do something. Like how you digest and assimilate food, you should think about suggestions before you act on them. Learn to turn down ideas that you can't handle. Part 3. What you want. To be successful, you have to put your energy into your work. How much you put your energy into your work depends on how much you want to be successful and how much you believe in your ability to become successful. How strong your desire is will depend on how clearly you picture yourself becoming what you want to be. Longings that aren't clear will never make you put in your best effort. Picture in your mind what you want to be and what you want in terms of people, things, and the surroundings. Focus on it until it's clear and certain, and hold on to it until it makes you want it very badly. Think about this picture until you can't help but notice it, no matter what you're doing. Keep it in the background of your mind. But even if you really want something, you won't put all your effort into it if you don't believe in yourself. Before you can do something, you have to believe you can. You can't believe you can unless you feel like you can, which means you have to have shown that you can feel like you can, unless you have the power to do it. This means that if you really want to do something, it means you have the power to do it. When you feel something, you want something, and the feeling that makes you want something is a talent that wants to be expressed. The musical faculty that wants to show itself is the desire to sing or play music. If there were no faculty or power, there would be no desire. Things that don't work with our inner forces make us feel bad, so we can't want them. Things only work well together if they are basically the same. So if you want something, it's because that thing is basically and possibly inside you. What is basically in you must also be possible to be in you. When we see someone who is kind and generous, we want to be like them because seeing them makes us kind and generous, and the power of being finding expression makes us want to be. We want to do well when we hear great oratory or a beautiful song. This is because the powers of oratory and music respond to the trigger and seek expression. Desire is a force that wants to be let out. Because you can't want something that isn't already inside you, you can be anything you want to be. You can be because you want to be. First, have a clear picture of what you want to be in terms of your person, your property, and your surroundings. Then, know that you can be whatever you want to be as long as your desires don't go against eternal justice. Part 4. Becoming the person you want to be. Success is a gradual development of the skills of a successful person. Remember that success means becoming what you want to be. To become what you want to be, you have to satisfy your wishes, and a desire is the effort of a faculty to be used. Every extra dollar or promotion a person gets lets them use a new skill or improve an old one in a better way. This fulfills a need and is a success. The person who is successful is the person who can use most of his or her abilities. So, since success is an evolution of a successful person, it must follow the evolutionary theory of action. In evolution, the most basic idea is that each lower plane holds all the potentialities needed to carry out the tasks of the higher plane. When we move up to a higher plane, we use new abilities, but we also see the use of abilities that were active on the lower plane. A rise to a higher level is only possible when these abilities are fully developed or used to their best. Evolution always starts with the most fully developed species on the lower plane and works its way up to the most developed species on the higher plane. The idea behind evolution is that the animals that work best on the lower plane are the ones that are closest to the higher plane, and the best way to get to the higher plane is to get better at working on the lower plane. But there needs to be something more. There would be no development if every living thing only did what it needed to do on its own level. When animals start to add skills that can only be learned on a higher plane to the skills they need to do their jobs on the lower plane, evolution starts. You might not want to do the work you have now, but you are not ready for the work you want to do until you can do the work you have now properly. That's all you can do, even if you're great at what you're doing. You're not ready for anything else. You won't be ready to move on until you can do your current job properly and also do other work. Evolution happens by making the skills that will be used on a higher level better. This is done by first doing the work of the lower level perfectly and then adding to it in a way that brings in new skills or improves the ones that are already being used so much that they can't be expressed on the lower level. If you want to move up, you need to do more than just fill your current position. The part of you that wants to go beyond where you are now is the part that takes hold in the higher place. If you want to be successful, you have to fill more than one place. You can't be successful if you don't. Chapter 5. Making a name for yourself. Success is lived by following the evolutionary concept, and progress is lived by living a life that moves forward. The evolutionary principle says that you can move up by doing more than what you're doing now. This is true whether you work for someone else or run your own business. On the other hand, doing more work than is needed won't get you anywhere. It will probably just keep you where you are. If you are an employee who doesn't want to do anything else, your boss will want to keep you in your current job, and probably will. To become what you want to be, you need to know what you want to be and be in a different place than where you are now. If you think that doing extra work will make your boss like you more, don't do it. That will make you feel like you have to obey others instead of being in charge of your own life. If you want the people above you to see how good your service is and promote you, don't do it. They might rather keep you where you are. Do what you do to get more attention for yourself. Take up more space than your place in so that you can improve your skills and get a better job. If you are ready for a raise and your boss doesn't give it to you, offer yourself to someone else. There are always spots for men and women who want to move up. Keep your eye on what you want to become and do more than what you're doing now. Based on the way you think, you will quickly see every chance to make things better, and you will be able to take advantage of those chances when they come up. Don't wait for a chance to become everything you want to be. Today, be the best person you can be, and if you get a chance to be even better, take it. If a person is living an advanced life and has an advanced mind, they will always have opportunities. Everything that happens in your life can be a chance if you know how to use it right. Everything that happens to you, everyone you meet, and every dog that barks or wags its tail in your way can be used to your advantage if you can find it. Look over all of them because they are your chances. Most people fail because they wait for the right chance instead of being ready to seize every chance that comes their way. Hold on tight to the picture of everything you want to achieve in your life, in your home, and in your surroundings. You should live an inner advancing life instead of just settling down where you are. You can't fail if you live an outer accumulative life and get everything that fits your picture. The stars will fight for you on their way. Evolution is a part of the universe's creative power, and it will work for your good. Chapter 6. Moving Thought Forward. The concept of success through evolution is the same whether you work for someone else or for yourself. Every day you should think about what you want to become and do more than just fill the space you have now. But that doesn't mean you should try to do some of your work for tomorrow today. All you need to do is be ready for it when it comes, but you need to do everything that's needed for the current business and even more to make it grow. In every deal, you need to keep your mind clear ahead of time. You need to carry the growing thought with you everywhere you go and tell everyone you meet about it. When someone buys a pound of sugar from you, think about how important their trade is, because soon they will be able to buy in barrel lots. Whenever a child buys a penny treat, you should offer the thought that one day he will buy a $5 box. The customer should always get the thought. In every sale, think about how you can help the customer and yourself get ahead. Very soon, everyone will think that everything is a good deal, and they'll be right. So, if you bring forward thinking into every transaction, your customers will pick it up and use it in their own lives. They will start to be more successful and think of you when they are. This will really make them want to be with you. Telling someone that you have new ideas about how to handle their own problems is the best deal you can give them. This is better than any bonus or refund. People are much more likely to come back to your business if they leave feeling like they've made progress and are becoming a more useful customer. People will start to achieve if you give your customers the idea of moving forward. They will then naturally connect their successes to you and come to you for more empowerment. They will give you power, and you will give them power back. That person or thing that can give everyone they deal with the idea of progress can't fail. They have exactly what they want. No matter what you do, as a business person, an artist, a worker, an actor, or a singer, this rule applies. You can more than fill your current niche so that your customers, patrons, or audiences know they are getting a good deal. It's not the amount or quality of the things that make the deal, but the feeling of progress or growth. To be successful in business, you need to keep the thought and mental attitude of growth and fill your current position with more growth. You more than fill your role because you do your work in a way that lets the people you work with know that you are helping them. By learning about and using the evolutionary principle, you can be sure of success and not fail at anything. Chapter 7. The Law of Becoming Beautiful. No one who has not been born again can see God's kingdom. Giving up the thought of competition and limited supply is the first thing that you need to do to live the new life. There are too many people who say they use new thought, but never really get it. The thought of limited supply is where competition in business comes from. This idea comes from the idea that since there isn't enough for everyone, they have to steal what is available. There are still a lot of people who don't fully understand the new ideas. They think that some people have to be poor so that others can have enough, and they think that only people with superhuman skills or the power to attract more of the limited supply can be wealthy. These people try to use the ideas of new thinking in a competitive setting, and they're pretty good at it. They work on getting better at drawing power. They give competitive business strategies new goals and drive. They say, "I am success," but they really think that the only reason they can win is because 95% of other people fail. Most of these new competitive thinkers are very successful. Their faith gives them the energy, drive, and hope that they need to be successful in business. Most of what they do turns out well because they are sure of what they believe. They are very good rivals because they use some new ways of thinking, and they say that their success comes from the power of thought and affirmation when it's almost only about winning. That which is called new thinking is really just the best and most advanced version of the old way of thinking. What does it know about the kingdom of God anyway? It only sees the kingdom of Caesar. These new thinkers are only a small part of Caesar's kingdom, as shown by the end results. Their wealth changes, they lose money, and their businesses go crazy. Their wealth is affected by times of trouble. Their feeling of safety comes from having faith in themselves. They always have the seed of a secret fear deep in their minds. Fear can't go away for anyone who knows that supply is limited. If there isn't enough for everyone, we know that our turn to lack could come at any time. There is a belief that success and wealth are only possible for a small group of people. This belief is directly linked to the failures and fails of new thinking people. Does this idea that competition is good really hold any water? Look around. There are 5 main categories that can be used to group things that are necessary for life and mental and physical growth: food, clothing, housing, education, and fun. We look to nature for 3 of these things: food, clothes, and a place to live. What we call wealth is these 3 things, plus their extras and growths in the form of luxuries, decorations, art, and beauty. Is there a limit to how many they can make? The first thing we should talk about is the food source. We haven't looked into the possibilities of intense farming yet in the United States. This is what makes 4 blades of grass grow where one used to be. It is a mathematical fact that the state of Texas, if all of its resources were put to use growing food, could feed the whole world's people and feed them well. The Dakotas grow wheat, the Carolinas grow rice, and the northern states grow fruits. In California and Florida, oranges grow. As a result, this heavily farmed country could feed the people of 10 worlds. There's plenty of food. Give us daily bread. We should always pray to our Father. We should also be thankful that He heard our prayer when He created the world. Also, keep in mind that guys like Burbank still have work to do. the food supply has the potential to grow forever. Men don't have to fight with each other to get enough food. When it comes to the second need, clothes, we find the same thing. The US can grow cotton for everyone in the world, but the world doesn't need to be dressed in cheap cotton cloth. We have fields where we grow flax for fine linen, trees for everyone, and places for sheep to graze so we can get woolen goods. A lot of land is empty right now, but we could grow enough mulberry trees to feed the silkworms that make silk clothes for everyone. We even have areas where ostriches can be raised for their beautiful feathers. We have enough money to dress every man, woman and child in clothes that are nicer than Solomon's were in all his glory. And there are unimaginable prospects in the hated weeds that grow along the roads. Some of it will be used to make the most beautiful clothes the world has ever seen. Clothing will always be available. Nobody needs to compete with each other. No one needs to wear sackcloth when someone else can wear purple and fine linen. Everyone can find purple and fine linen. When we go back to the question of protection, we find the same problems. There are huge piles of clay that need to be turned into tiles and bricks. Huge pieces of building stone have not yet been worked. We learned that sand and lime can be used to make bricks, and that cement is a great rock for building. There is no doubt that a nicer home than Vanderbilt's could be built for every family in America, and when they were all done, we would not even have touched the surface of our stock. Some people don't need to live in huts, so that others can have a safe place to live. There is also an infinite amount of books, musical instruments, pictures, statues, furniture, carpets, and anything else that can please the mind and eyes of man. It's not true that things are scarce or that there isn't work to be done in nature. There's no need to compete for work or things. We can all keep busy for the rest of our lives with the important and beautiful work that needs to be done. It might also be helpful to note that there is an abundance of finished goods. The problem is that workers aren't producing enough to meet demand. Making things is no longer a problem thanks to modern machines. In just over a generation, the amount of work that can be done has grown 600 times. For example, one man does the work that 1,000 men had to do 100 years ago when nails were being made. And the same is pretty much true in every business. And there is still more growth in economic power to come. There is nothing that can't be made better. If we all worked 6 hours a day, we could make everything we need, plus all the nice things we like. We don't have to fight for a part since there is so much of it. Tomorrow doesn't need to be thought about. We don't have to go through panics or failures. Our only job is to seek the kingdom of God and his right relationships with us. Everything else will be given to us. What is God's kingdom then? What can I compare the kingdom of God to? Like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of food until it was all risen. It's like leaven in flour. The kingdom of God is in everything and through everything. All of nature is part of it because God made nature, and the kingdom of God is fully present when nature is fully natural. God is the thought of nature, so the naturalness of nature is the only way that God can be perfectly shown. All living things are part of the kingdom of God, since God is life itself. The kingdom of God is fully present when people live their lives in a natural way, since that is the only way to most perfectly reflect God. So, here's the question: how can we live in a normal way? To live a life, you have to keep going toward more life. If you drop a seed in the middle of a field, it will start to grow life right away. It stops just existing and starts to live. Soon, it turns into a plant and a seed head with 30, 60 or 100 seeds, each with the same amount of life as the first seed. These seeds fall to the ground and start to live. Eventually, there are 1,000,000 seeds in the field, and each one has the same amount of life as the first seed. The first seed has 1,000,000 times more life than it had before it bloomed. The act of living life means constantly making life better. You can't live any other way. The need for life to grow is what leads to what we call evolution. The world of minerals doesn't change over time. Minerals don't move forward or do better. Tin doesn't change into iron, iron into silver, silver into gold, and so on. Lead doesn't change into tin. Organic types of life are the only ones that can evolve. It happens because life needs to express itself more fully. Without a doubt, life on Earth started in a single cell, but that cell wasn't able to express life fully, so a two-celled organism appeared, then a many-celled organism, then vertebrates, then mammals, and finally, man. It did all of this because life has a natural need to move forward and become more complete. Even after man was made, development did not stop. There was no more physical evolution. Instead, there was mental and spiritual development. Since the beginning of time, man has been getting better at living. People in each age can live longer than the one before them. The race keeps moving forward to find more life. So now we know that to live is to live more. Consciousness keeps growing because consciousness is doing something. To know more, feel more, and enjoy more is what mind needs most. And this need of the mind is what makes society change and grow. If we think that conscious life is the best way to experience God or the mind of nature, then everything must be meant to help conscious life grow. As it turns out, man is the highest form of aware life. This means that everything must be done to help man grow. And if man's growth means getting better at supporting life, then everything in nature must be there to help man keep getting better at supporting life. The way things are used shows how life works. The amount of things someone has is not what defines their life, but how many of those things they can use correctly. And to have a full life means having everything we need to use it well. The mind of nature wants to keep making man better, so it must also want every person to have free access to everything they can use and enjoy, or for their own things to come to them. The goal of God is for everyone to have life and plenty of it. God is the force behind everything, and He is in everything. With this in mind, the wisdom or mind of God is in everything, like leaven in flour. The mind's activity is based on the desire to move forward. As a result, the drive to move forward is present in all things. Everything wants every man to get better. If a person wants something good to make his life better, that thing wants it for him too. There is only one life. Nature's mind is everywhere and in everything. The mind of man talks to the mind of things. Everything works together for the good of people who only want to move forward. There is a mind in nature that wants us to have everything we can use and are ready to use to live a fuller life. This mind is in the things themselves and tends to bring them to us. This is the most important thing we know, and that everything we need will come to us if we follow the right road, understand this mind, and work with it. This mind, on the other hand, is the mind of the whole, not a part. And if we lose sight of the big picture and go after a small piece with other people, we lose everything. Because competing with one part is almost the same as denying and rejecting the whole. If you see and accept the whole, you can't fight for a part. The idea that we have to compete for a limited quantity keeps us from seeing and accepting the plenty that is already ours. We keep fighting over Caesar's kingdom for no reason because we can't see God's kingdom, which is all around us and inside us. He said, "If my kingdom were in this world, my servants would fight." We really don't get away from the ideas of the powers of this world. We're still having a hard time, more or less. However, how can we stay away from competition when every business works by fighting for a limited supply? How can we get jobs if we don't have to search for them? Can we do well in a world where people compete without competing? Should we cut ourselves off from the rest of the world and start communist societies? Without a doubt not. It's impossible to succeed if you try. When people live in a communist society, they don't fight with each other, but with everyone else. It's not possible for a community to be full without severely restricting the people who live there's access to basic necessities. However, this goes against the goal of the community, and if it isn't whole, meeting all its needs, it has to look to the outside world for what it doesn't have, which is what we want to avoid. Taking a part away from the whole won't solve the problem in any way. The joint plan is awkward, not natural, and not useful. There is a mind in nature that wants us to have everything we can use and are ready to use to live a fuller life. This mind is in the things themselves and tends to bring them to us. This is the most important thing we know, and that everything we need will come to us if we follow the right road, understand this mind, and work with it. Should we start the cooperative community and socialism? We can't, because there is no way to set up both socialism and the cooperative community. They have to make a name for themselves, which could take a long time. No matter what the law says, we can't stop competition as long as most men believe in limited quantity. Because of this, we will have to keep doing business the way it is now and stop competing. Could we do it? Yes. However, Part 8. People and Money. I'm here so that they can have life, and more life than they expect. As the thought of nature, God creates nature's abundance so that it can help people grow. This includes the growth of all people, not just some. The goal of nature is to keep life moving forward. Since man is God and the greatest form of life, the goal of nature must be to keep every man and woman moving forward toward a better life. That which wants the progress of all men and women can't take anything from anyone. To be one with the mind of nature, then, is to want the progress of everyone at the expense of no one, or to try to get for everyone what you want for yourself. This should keep us from thinking about competition at all. I want the same things for everyone as I do for myself. That's what the Declaration of Independence says about the system of competition. The prayer of the living is, "Father, give us what is ours." These words and prayers are in line with what nature is thinking. If a person says and prays these things, he or she is mentally one with all that lives, including God, nature, and people. This is sacrifice. When you are mentally one with the mind of things, you can put your ideas and desires into that mind. If you want something and that thing's mind is connected to yours, that thing will want you and move toward you. If you want dollars and your mind is one with the mind that runs dollars and everything else, the dollars will want to come to you and will move toward you, driven by the eternal power that makes life more rich. You only need to join forces with the mind of things to get what you want. Things will then be pulled to you. On the other hand, the mind of things' main goal is to keep moving everyone toward a better life. So, no one can take something from you to give it to you unless you give that person more in life than you take from him. It will be very clear that the holy mind can't work in business that is only about competition. God can't be split up against himself. He can't be forced to take something from someone and give it to someone else. He won't make it harder for one person to get ahead in life so that it's easier for another person to get ahead. He doesn't care about people and doesn't have any favorites. He is in all of them, works for all of them, and is at their service. To do that, you need to make sure that your business gives everyone you deal with something in return for the money you take from them. When I say in life, I don't always mean in money. Many people who are against the business system don't understand this. Something that isn't valuable to one person may be very valuable to someone else who can use it to improve their life. An Eskimo would rather have a box of matches than a combine machine. For each person, the value of something depends on what level of life they are in. What doesn't matter on one level or at one point in his development is very important on another level or at a later time. Any item's ability to save lives may have nothing to do with how much it costs. While the paper and ink in this book are worthless, a single sentence in it could be worth a huge sum of money to someone who reads it. If you sell something for more than it cost you, you'll make a profit. But the buyer may use it in a way that makes it worth hundreds of times what you paid for it, so the profit is not theft. It is important that your business meets this basic need. That's the first thing to do. After you do this, you will be one with nature's intelligence, which is trying to make life better for everyone. What St. Paul says is true. You work with him. You and your dad are one. Your work's goal is for everyone to have life and a lot of it. What you want for yourself, you want for everyone else as well, and the idea of having everything you need starts to draw you in. The mind of things in dollars knows that you need dollars, so you can honestly say, the dollars want me. Dollars will start to move toward you, and they will always come from people who need what you can give them in return. Things that are needed to make life better will be moved to the place where they are needed by the divine mind. You can use this for everything you need to keep your business going, as well as everything you can use to make your life better. Nothing good will be kept from you. Because you will always do God's will, you will be one with the power of evolution and the purpose of nature. This will allow you to accept all that nature has to offer. No one will be able to beat you, and everything will be yours. But you should remember that your faith is the only thing that makes God want what you want. The link is broken by doubt. Fear and anxiety broke the link. You have an effect on things' minds in the same way that you have an effect on your own. If you don't say your affirmations with the power of total faith, they won't work. Things will not act in a good way because the mind is full of doubt and delay. When you pray, whatever you ask for, believe that you will receive it, and you will. We can't trust God and walk and work with Him at the same time. Things will move away from you instead of toward you if you feel distrust. It's very easy to be successful in situations that aren't competitive. First, want the same things for everyone as you want for yourself. Also, don't take anything from anyone without giving something back in return. The more you give, the better off you will be. Next, move forward with full faith that everything you need to live the best life you can will come to you. You must always have faith in the Father that it will come to you, and you must thank Him in every prayer where it does come to you. Everything that happens to you will make someone else's life better. Everyone else's wealth will grow thanks to your gains. You get the same things in life for everyone else. Everyone's life, health, wealth, and happiness get better because of your success. Someone asks, how is this different from competition? After all, aren't you still competing with those in the same line of business? Not at all. What you get won't come from the small amount that other people are fighting over, but from the whole. Allow me to explain. Some people think that the country doesn't have enough money to meet everyone's wants. Let's say that a lot of people start living this way, and the dollars start to flow to all of them. It's true that there won't be enough for everyone. The thought of need, on the other hand, would have an effect on the thinking of people. There would be new rules about money. Bullion would start to move into mints and printing presses that make money bills. If it's needed to move things forward in life, the mind of things can reach beyond paper money to the gold and silver that lie in the hills, and things will start to move forward. When faith-based prayers ask for it, the mind of things can bring resources from all over the world to meet the need. The same goes for everything else. After enough people have chosen to move forward in life, both the mints and the mills will be set in action. People who say that the wage system keeps workers from living a full life should know that once the workers start living a full life, the wage system will be changed if it gets in the way of their progress. All that will be needed to change it is for them to want more life. Systems can change as life moves forward, but life can't move forward without systems changing. Building beautiful and useful things takes a lot of work. Those whose only goal is to use those things to make everyone's life better are the only ones who need them. Everyone will be richer as the number of these people grows, and more people from all walks of life will become truthful. They will give up competition and the way of limited supply until the kingdom is set up on earth just like it is in heaven, at which point God will wipe away all tears. There will be no more crying or pain, and there will be no more night. Chapter 9. Talks that make things better. Don't talk about being poor. Telling everyone that you've always been poor and have had a hard time getting ahead doesn't make the world any better or more prosperous. It's not okay to talk about being poor or not knowing something. Some people say that being poor is not a shame, but that's only partly true. Being poor is truly an embarrassment. People who are A. stupid, B. lazy, or C. not good at what they do are the only ones who are poor or in trouble. You're about to hit your head with your hands because this sounds mean. You're telling me that wage slaves and renters have no chance, etc. But hold on a minute. The people who work for wages really run the world. Everything was made by them, and they could own it tomorrow if they wanted to. You can tell them at any time to stop making things for their bosses and start making things for themselves. They don't do that, though, because A. they don't know this is their world, B. they are too mentally lazy to think and find out, and C. they are stupid because they don't think. People stay down because they are intellectually lazy. People who work hard and gladly in other areas don't like the work of having one thought after another. They are slaves because they let other people think for them. People will work for money as long as the 5 and 10 cent movie houses are full and the public libraries are empty. As I said, I want you to understand how pointless it is to talk about poverty. When you talk about poverty and bad conditions, people will only go to cheap shows and do other things to drown their pain in short-term joys. It will get worse the more they talk about and think about their hard times. To look for a mental drug to dull the pain, and the longer they suffer, the worse it will be. There is no better way to keep most people poor than to write and talk about it all the time. Talk about how good times are coming. The good times are coming, and the faster they come, the more people who talk and think about it. It would be better to show beautiful pictures of how people will live in the new city instead of terrible pictures of how people live in tent cities. You will have done more good than sending 10 people with salves and plasters to ease the problems if you can get just one person to go to work in the new city. Don't fight against child labor and bad working conditions in factories. Instead, tell the workers what great conditions they will have when they wake up and take over the businesses. The people are slaves to nothing but stupidity and lack of knowledge. If they start to think, they can get anything they want. Talking about money will get them to think. That is basic thought for everyone. Also, the same goes for you as a person. Don't stay down with the crowd if they aren't ready or willing to join you. You can get better than them, but you'll never get better if you talk about yourself like you're bad. People who have trouble getting ahead will continue to be people who have trouble getting ahead if you keep saying that about yourself. Don't talk about how hard things were for you as a child and how poor your parents were. When you talk about those things, you mentally bring them back, and when you mentally bring them back, you physically invite them. Talk about the good times you had as a kid and forget about the bad ones. Don't talk about how hard you worked and how little you got in return. You were a lout if you worked hard for nothing, and you shouldn't act like a lout. Talk about the great work you did and the great pay you got for it. Then you will market yourself as a skilled worker who can make a good living. Do not act like Uriah Heep and say that you are very humble while bragging about living in a bad house. Say that you are just as good as the best and talk about the beautiful house that you are buying and setting up. You don't need to say sorry about your clothes or that you don't have anything to wear. Talk about the nice clothes you plan to buy. Do not say anything about being poor. Do not talk about it as if it were real. Talk about money. You have learned in these chapters about the huge power you possess, a power that can alter not only your own reality, but also the realities of those around you. Now I want you to think about everything you've learned. Wattle's ideas and methods are more than just words on a page. They are real tools that can change your life if you use them consistently and with religious faith. Remember that you are the first person who can change. Your ideas and thoughts are the seeds of your future, and you are the one who plants them and grows them. Think about all the things you could do if you had this new attitude. As you follow the advice in this book, picture goals that seemed far away and impossible coming true one step at a time. Wattles talks about a powerful life that is not just an idea, it is something you can make happen. I want to leave you with one last word of hope. Don't just let the things you've learned sit there as thoughts. Do something with it every day. You are one step closer to the life you want with every small deed and good thought. Challenges are going to come your way, but you now have the tools and attitude to get through them. Always keep in mind the most important thing Wattles taught us. You have the power to make your own world. So keep going with determination and faith. Follow these lessons, and they will change every part of your life. You have the power to do great things. Don't accept less than what you earn. You can have an abundant life full of success, health, and happiness. Thanks for going on this trip with us. May every word give you hope and strength, and may you keep growing and doing well in every part of your life. The best part of your life is still to come. The change has already started. I'll see you soon, and know that you have the power to make your life better.